Okay, so over here at the grinder now. Gonna actually start by grinding 2 parallel phases, and then we'll do the other 2. Then we can check for square and go from there. Side I got down. And make sure there's no burrs or anything. Of course, without a grinder you could do this on the mill. Just take a bit more time and care in your vise, and you can get things really square. Because I do have a grinder, I might as well use it. Again, I think I've said it before. Well, hand's your best friend. The field grit far smaller than you can see. Use the middle of the chuck for whatever reason. I don't know whether you should or not, but I generally use the middle of the chuck. Alright, so about there. Got a lovely advantage of having a quite adjustable dresser. Put the toe in there. Alright. Okay. Got the light off because it looks appalling in the video with the light on, but I need it on now, so I think I've said this before as well. White piece of paper. Behind there. Makes it really easy to see. Once that gap goes away, get rid of the paper. I've taken to feeding it 1/2 our steps. Well, as soon as you touch, you know you haven't gone any deeper than 1/2 power. Here that wheel is not quite round at the moment. Don't know how that happens. The wheel moves, start up, and you end up with a wheel sitting slightly off centre, I suppose. It's really strange, you can still hear that. It's getting better. It's not by much, I've only taken, this will be a thou off it now. There's always a great deal of controversy about touching wheels. And if I turn and touch this now, I'll probably get comments with people saying, what are you doing? I can feel that's still not dressed all the way around. I can feel a rough spot. All it'll do, I don't know if you can even see that, is just polish the end of your finger slightly. If you're going to do it over here. Don't do it here where your finger could be pulled down. Collect the dresser, collect the chuck. Obviously you're not pushing on it, you're just resting your finger there. These will take a lot of skin off very quickly if you're not careful. Take the light one off that. This is a 46 grit 38A, probably K or J hardness wheel. Pretty good all round wheel. Tend to find they grind steel, cast iron. Anything like that quite well. I've found some pretty hard steel with these. Seems to work fine. Good all round wheel. I do have quite a few arbors, but I tend to have this wheel on and I don't change it. Just gonna lift my splash guards up again. Alright, again, you can use the paper. Corn always good to turn the corn off. In there I can't actually see that paper, it's too dark. One of the other tricks I found, shine the light at it, you get a nice contrast between the darkness between the wheel and the work. Just touch that and say same deal. If you drop it down in half our lots, you know you're not going to go too deep. Set my total stops pretty much with the traverse in and out. Got to sort of guess at it. I'm getting used to this machine now, but there we go. Anything I will do, just check. Should be good all the way. Anyway, we'll run it over there at that. Let's put this fella in. Yeah, a bit hard while it's moving. Yeah, help if I turn that on. So that we actually feeding. A bit deep there. It always amazes me when you put something on the grinder off the mill, just how deep those milling marks are. It's a real bad habit. I'm using a lathe with a foot brake. Going for the foot brake on everything. The grinder doesn't have a foot brake, it does the mill. I'm trying to use it. I think I've mentioned this before as well. Grinders, if you're not using a VFD with a slow ramp up time, don't turn your grinder off. When I addressed that before, it was out of, the wheel was out of round, so to speak. It had shifted slightly on the arbor. That's because of the inertia from the start. So if you've got slow ramp up time with the VFD, by all means turn it off. If not, safer to leave it on. Said that wasn't dressed that well, but that's come up alright. Not the best finish in the world, but window washing squeegee, really handy tool. Remember that grinding wheel's running all times. Even if you hit the squeegee with it, the chances are, and I think I've done it before actually, just on the plastic there, the chances are you get thrown out of your hand. God knows what your hand will collect. Remove that to start with. Clean it off. Obviously, make sure there's nothing, no tiny speck of grit, anything like that. You can, got an automatic machine like this. I was trying to put a texture mark on the chuck, just so you can line it up again. You don't have to worry about resetting your stops, but this coolant takes the texture off, so it doesn't work very well. Anyway, we will put the splash guard back. All those things in the way. Sit that back in there. Have some light, which makes viewing terrible. Turn off the light. Give it a half a hour. Coolant. Away we go. There shouldn't be any burrs on the other side since we just ground it. I had someone comment about the guard here wobbling away, whether it would affect anything. I'm sure if it was a tiny little grinder it might, These guys might weigh, you know, half a kilo. The table of this grinder alone would weigh a couple of hundred, plus the chuck. The chuck weighs, you know, I can lift the chuck, but you know, it'd be 60 or 70 kilos in the chuck. There's no way that this wobbling around like that is going to affect the way that this grinder works, cause any problems. It's just a resonance, depending on the speed you have the grinder set at, flutters in or out at different speeds. Sometimes it can get quite violent. Yeah, anyway, finish grinding this, spark it out, do the other two sides, and I'll be back to do our first check for square. Okay, so I'm over at the grounded surface plate. I now have my block ground on all four sides. Now we know that our surface grinder, they're very flat too. We know that our surface grinder will grind things parallel. What we don't know is if our two faces are square to each other. So this could be, in effect, a parallelogram, with our sides doing this. Opposing sides are parallel, but corners aren't necessarily 90 degrees. Now, the easiest way to check that without going to, this is a precision granite square. Just one thing I should have said, of course, was to make sure that your plate is clean. Doesn't matter whether you're using a cast iron plate, a small granite plate. This is my big granite plate. I've got a little one as well, little sort of A4 piece of paper size one, but I find it's not as flat as this one is. Anyway, there's a few YouTube videos on this. Tool and Die Guy has one, I think. A few other guys have videos of this. It's a standard. This is an old scribing base, gauge stand, whatever you want to call it. I put a 6mm slot, 1/4 inch, whatever it is, in the front and the back of this. I generally only use the front one because it's too close to the post otherwise. And a nicely finished curved piece pressed in there. Just lightly pressed in there it is. I can knock it out. This is so that you can push it against the work and sweep the upper edge with a dial test indicator. This is a don't know if I can get a good shot of it. It's a bit glary. Can't get a good shot at all. This is a tenth of a thou indicator. You probably it's probably not worth using just a standard half thou or 0.01mm indicator. Alright, so we can sweep that, and hopefully the glare in here is terrible. There we go. You can see I'm making contact. So what we'll do is we'll set this side so that it is zeroed. Still a long way from zero. Anything that's this fine, it's very hard to zero even with the fine adjustment. That's pretty close to zero. Now if this is a parallelogram and I flip this around 90 degrees, this won't read zero. It reads 4.8 thou. So we know from zero, 4.8 thou. I've actually got 5 there. As you know, when you're using a really fine indicator, you probably realise very hard to get repeat readings. That's 5 there. I might come back here and find that this is only, yeah, so that's now reading 2 thou. So 2/10, sorry. So we'll call it 4.8 thou. Okay. So in essence, what we need to do is tip this whole thing that way slightly to get these two sides perpendicular to the granite surface plate. That means we have to grind some off this edge here. So what we'll do, we also know it's 4.8 thou, so we'll halve that, so it's 2.4 thou, and we're pretty much working over the full width here. So what we'll do is all this area here, except for a ledge about 1/4 inch wide down here, we'll take 2.4 thou off it. I quite often work in tenths and just say 24 when I'm doing this. My grinder feeds in tenths, so graduated in tenths, so it's nice and easy. We'll take 24 tenths off this shaded area and leave tiny little landing. That means is when we flip it over, once we've ground this, we flip it over and sit this side on the chuck. This will sit slightly up and it will take it back to being square, and hopefully when we come back to it we'll find that it's perfectly square. So we know that that side, this side is the low side, so we want it to tip this way, so we've got to take it off this side, leave that side. Okay, so we'll go back to the grinder, we'll do that, and then we can come back over here and test it, see how it is. Okay, so we're back at the grinder. Of course, you can always do this on a mill as well. The holding might be a bit of an issue, but I'm sure you could get around it. The biggest thing is the fineness of your downfeed on your mill. Obviously, it's not nearly as fine generally as what a grinder is. You know, my mill's graduated in half thou, but really it's a bit hit and miss under a thou. So to do this properly, you really do need a grinder. But let's face it, if you were to mill this on a mill in your vise that you know mill's square, you're going to get it so close for most of the work you're going to do, you're not even going to notice that it's not right. Tolerances we're talking here are pretty fine. Even 2.5 thou over 2 inches, that's a pretty tight tolerance as it is. For square, you'll find it's probably better than most squares that you'd get in a cheap squares you get in a hardware store. I don't know that for sure. I mean, I know I've checked my combination squares, and they're not my good ones good, but my cheaper ones, I've had a Stanley for a long time. It's a fair way out. Certainly further out than this is right now. Anyway, right, I like to put. Can't see it. Keep forgetting to get rid of this for you. I like to put the side that we're going to leave towards me so I can see it properly. Try and get it fairly straight down the bed, down the chuck. First thing we've got to do is just take a skim pass off there to remind me. Right on the edge there, 24, so we're going to take 24 tenths off. So we can bring this back. And I'm not sure if this I'm pretty sure this was the last face I did actually grind, last I mentioned, but I'll just check it. Alright, so what we'll do, we'll take a really light pass off that, all the way on. Since it did just take that tiny skim, I'll leave it at that. I turn my auto feed off. I'll zero my dial. Alright, so we need to take 24/10, so we'll start by going 5. And feed this by hand. Yep, you can see a lot, can't you? Bloody hopeless. There we go. Alright, so we just grind up to that, leave that ledge, and then we'll feed it back out. Take another 5 thou. 5/10. That 24 was half of the error. It's a bit like run out on a lathe. The total indicated run out is twice the error. Give it a few spark out runs there. Pop the traverse in and just let it spark out across the piece. It's not actually even important to do a spark out right against the ledge, because it's not going to be touching anything there. It's really only the ledge here and the other corner which is going to be touching. Anyway, that's done. Alright, so now we'll take that off. You can't see much there. Again, clean. Rid of that coolant, get rid of all the swarf. Nasty, bloody, boggy stuff it is when it gets mixed with coolant. Better than having dust flying everywhere though. My hands are too wet. This hand's dry. Right, it's a good idea every now and then to give you chuck a very light touch up with a stone just to make sure there's no burrs or anything. Alright, so you can probably see if we can see that. It's 2.5 thou, we should be able to. I can certainly feel it. You can see that ledge there, so it's going to sit on the ledge in that corner. Pop it on the chuck. Obviously when we grind this, tighten the chuck up before I turn it on. Alright, this is going to be, this corner is going to be 2.5 thou higher than our last setting, so if we go back to 5 thou deeper than our 0, on the other side we should touch 5 thou, I keep saying 5 thou, 5/10, half a thou deeper than the other side, we should be right. We can let that have it. Obviously, there it goes. We're going to touch on that side. It's very quickly. It's going to lead to nothing because of that taper. Turn it around. Go look at where the camera's pointing. Just let it spark out. I'll grind the other side flat. And then I'll go back to the granite and we'll test it. Okay, so we're back at the surface plate. I've sparked out both those sides, so we'll see how we went. Not even touching there. Alright, so we will zero this side again. Of course, remember that the angle of the stylus will also affect how we are. Okay, so that's -1 thou. That's 0. I can't get good light to show you. You can see that. up near the 0. You can see on this side, don't know if you can make out the thou. Yeah, we're pretty well minus a thou. It says 12 tenths actually. Again, something's moved. So easy for things to move, the lightest tap. Yeah. So now we're 5 tenths out. It's better. What I probably did, I'm just looking at this stylus, because my stylus is a fair way off being vertical. That's one of the problems with doing this, is the nose of the dial gets in the way, unless you have it over the work. I do there, it would get in the way there. You need to have your stylus away from vertical, so of course you're going to get a sign error with your measuring, but going from being out by 48 tenths to 10 tenths is a damn good thing. So we'll have to go back, we'll grind half a thou off, same way as we did before. This time I'm going to grind the other faces so I don't grind too much size. I'll check the size, but I'll probably grind these other faces. So that side needs to go in, so we're going to leave with this one. This is the side that reads minus 1 thou. This is the side that reads 0. So if we go back to the side that reads minus 1 thou, we know that we have to bring, back in the shot, this curved base in by half a thou to get this reading, the minus 5 thou, so that both sides would be minus 5 thou in the middle. So we need to leave our landing there, take half a thou off all that. So back to the grinder, I'll go and do that, we'll come back and we'll see how we've gone. Add to that, I might just add to that, I had a sneaking suspicion when I ground the step ground face back off that there must have been a speck of something underneath one side when I did that step grind, because of the way it ground one side before it ground the other. I checked, there was nothing underneath it, cleaned it, checked again, still ground unevenly. So I do get the feeling that there was something on my chuck that I didn't clean up, or a tiny little burr on the job that would have caused that. I have done this, I only did this grinding yesterday on some blocks, and it was within a tenth on the first attempt. No, that's a lie. It was within a tenth on the second attempt. I'll be honest and say I actually ground it the wrong way the first time, and I went from being about 16 tenths out to 32 tenths out. But I have found that it's very reliable, even with that sign error that I was mentioning, to just go by what your dial says. Okay, back from the grinder to check again, make sure everything's nice and clean, see what we've got. Oh, it's looking good. As long as this hasn't changed at all, it's looking real good. Alright, so we'll zero that one. And I'm sorry that I just cannot get a shot. I've tried turning a few lights off, but I cannot get it so you guys can see the dial. And oh, that is just orgasmic. Alright, that is right on the 0. And that is, oh, maybe half a tenth more. I mean, that's micron accuracy. That's, you know, sneezing it could be wrong.